Hello everyone and welcome back. We just got a new 4.2 PTU patch and we have some very interesting changes to go over in this build. This video we're going to mostly focus on there have been some changes to the respawning at the new Pyro 1 locations. It's no longer in the main building, but it sounds like there's some smaller outer buildings it'll happen at, so we're going to go take a look at that and see how that might work. See if maybe that'll discuss if that will work better than how it currently is. So that's the big thing we're going to look at. There's some other interesting changes with the Valakkars, the all sizes of them, some other various things, and then the biggest thing I think is going to be there has been a pretty big rebalance and adjustment to missiles and torpedoes across the board. Basically, as far as I can tell, killing the dumb firing meta. So we're gonna take a look at that, probably do some testing, maybe look at some numbers as well if we have those available at when we get to that point. But first, let's go to the Pyro 1 locations and see what has changed there. And while we finish flying to Pyro 1, I will quickly go over the This Week in Star Citizen schedule that we got. There is a lot of interesting stuff we're going to be getting this week. So, starting tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to be getting the Alpha 4.2.0 patch watch. So they'll talk about some of the features and gameplay and different mechanics coming in the next patch. There will also be the June 2025 subscriber comlink and subscriber newsletter. So you'll have that to look forward to if you're a subscriber. And then Wednesday, really big day, we will have the PU May monthly report. Always looking forward to see what progress there is on ships and animation, characters, gameplay, all those sorts of things. Hopefully we get some further updates on maybe engineering and FPS scanning, and maybe some more things on maybe the Perseus or the Apollo, maybe the Ironclad. We'll have to see. We'll also be getting a roadmap update on that day as well. And then Thursday we have an Inside Star Citizen, which will be talking all about the latest, or the new patch that's coming up, going through kind of the story of what's going on. I'm sure that'll be a really interesting episode to watch. And then Friday, of course, we'll have the weekly newsletter. You'll have your sneak peek and all of that. So those are the major things that are going to be going on this week. Going to be pretty busy, so we're definitely going to be putting out a good amount of videos this week, keeping all of you up to date on everything. So if you want to see all of those, feel free to subscribe so you're able to see those when they come out. But now let's go ahead and let's go check out some of the new locations at Pyro 1 and see what has changed there. Okay, here we are. It will be a little bit easier to see things probably because there's no storm. Just get stuck here for some reason. There we go. Okay, so first let's go look at where you were able to respawn before, which was in the infirmary. Let's see what they've changed in there. So I already got knocked. I'll just say that the NPCs on when the server FPS is right around 30, the NPCs do not mess around. So yeah, very, very difficult. Well, the medbay's still here. So can I still set my spawn in these beds? So I can... Oh, look at that. This medical facility does not currently support regeneration. Please visit a different medical facility to update your regen location. So, can I, if I wanted to, maybe I can repair injuries here. I just can't respawn. Let's see. The same thing here. But you can treat your injuries in this location. Alright, so now let's go see if we can find some of these supposed new outer buildings where we can respawn. Let's see. That might be one right there. Let's run over there and see. I also noticed if you look in the bottom left corner there, there's a little bit of an updated icon for the radiation counter. We'll have to see if it really does a better job of like indicating how much radiation you're dealing with. I don't know. But right now it just says 999. Okay, so this building, it does have the title of infirmary outside. And we do have a med bed, so let's see if it lets us set our spawn point here. We can. So in these outer buildings, you can set your spawn point. So that is the change they've made. So you can still heal injuries on the beds that are inside the main building, but you cannot respawn there. So that'll, I think that'll at least make it a bit more unpredictable, because I think they said there's supposed to be, I think there's supposed to be 5 buildings from what I heard in the message of the day. So that does give a little bit more variability to where someone could respawn from. Is it going to help the camping situation? Probably not, because really you just need a couple more people to be like one to watch each building. So it probably won't help a ton. But I think it is a step in the right direction, I think. I think it's better than what it was previously. So we'll have to see if maybe they make some further adjustments. But yeah, I think it's a good change for now. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. If you what else do you think they could do to make it better? Do you think, because it seems like they do intend for you to be able to respawn here. Like that seems to be an intended mechanic. But how they go about it, you know, that could probably change a little bit more. So if you have any thoughts on maybe what they could do better, what they could change, I'd love to hear it down in the comments. Okay, so again, I'll start by just going over the Stormbreaker general polish. So there's art, audio mixing, LOD, lighting, shuttle, and performance polish. Remove the ability to set the spawn points to facility interior and move it to multiple satellite locations outside that facility. And then further tweaks and polish for lightning and rain effects. Min-max length and min-max spawn frequency for lightning. And then keep doors opened for the egg nursery room at the end of the release procedure, and added additional scientists to data lab in cafeteria and weapons testing room. So those are kind of general changes to the building itself. We can see the ICTY in there. There is a rock or glitch in there. Oh, there's some weapon racks back there. I never noticed that. You can get some Volt weapons back in there. And there's some ship components. But now let's go ahead and let's talk about the changes for the Valakkar. Okay, so we have Apex, Valakkar, Balance, and Polish Pass. Now, not all of these are for the Apex. Some of them are for the other sizes. So, changed the Apex Valakkar mouth to no longer provide bonus damage. Weak spots are full damage, while armored areas take vastly less damage. Further added Apex Valakkar and location radiation effects. The hazards that the Valakkar create will have radiation that decays over time and length. Apex Valakkar animation and skin texture polish. So then we have a whole bunch of lists of stats that have changed. So first we have reduced reinforcements call time from 40 to 30 seconds. So I believe that's when the Apex Valakkar can call in the adult and juvenile as reinforcements. So that has been slightly lowered, so those will come in faster. They disabled the disorientation behavior to improve fight pacing. They increased the adult Valakkar's projectile damage from 25 to 40, so quite a bit more damage. They improved the consistency of Valakkar adult accuracy. Increased juvenile Valakkar projectile damage from 9 to 15. Increased Apex Valakkar explosion max radius from 10 to 20. Increased Apex Valakkar explosion damage from 2.5 to 4. Explosions hit multiple body parts, so that'll be quite a bit more dangerous, I would assume. They also increased the Apex Valakkar projectile damage from 5 to 20. Increased the health of Valakkar adults from 350 to 475, so quite a bit of an increase there. And they disabled being able to stun the adult and juvenile Valakkars. So basically all just a bunch of buffs there, so it should be quite a bit more difficult to be able to kill those. Be a little bit more of a challenge. I'm hoping maybe they've increased the health of the actual Apex itself, because it seems like when I did it the other day, I mean, granted, I had a group of like 10 or something people that we were doing it with, so it died pretty quick, but I think it might need to go on a little bit longer than that. I don't know, maybe there's a way they could dynamically have the health, it like senses how many people are there and kind of changes the health accordingly. I don't know. But yeah, hoping there's some really good adjustments, and then I'm sure there might be some more before the patch goes live. So then those are all the major changes for the Pyro 1 locations. So now let's go ahead and we're going to start heading back to the station. And while we're on our way back, we'll talk about some of the other minor changes, and then get into talking about the big meat and potatoes of this patch, which is the major changes to missiles and torpedoes. Alright, so before we get into the testing of the torpedoes and such, I'll just go over a couple of the minor changes we have. So under locations, they have adjusted the rain volume intensity on Hurston and ArcCorp, and they have enabled dynamic rain on Pyro 4, so you might see that when you're at those new Pharaoh data centers. There's been some slight Volt shotgun audio polish, and then under Core Tech, they removed the ability to disable clouds completely from the user config. They extended the puddle draw distances and 3D comms notification polish. So those are the major changes. There are some interesting bug fixes as well. We have a potential fix that is for ordnance missiles. Cross-section missiles can't be spoofed with countermeasures. I believe that means that you can't flare off or noise off cross-section missiles, so you probably have to shoot them down or something like that. Especially if you're in a larger ship, like a Polaris or a Idris, cross-section missiles or torpedoes will probably work pretty well against that. Of course, they could be shot down by PDCs, but with some of the new changes, you might be able to actually get them through and get some good hits in. And then one other little bug fix I noticed is for the Idris. That is that the Idris does not have exterior lights. Supposedly it has that working now, so we'll try that out here. We're going to be using the Idris to test some of the new Torp changes and whatnot, so we'll make sure to try that out. So then let's go ahead and let's go over the changes for missiles. So sizes 1 to 7 have had their health increased, as well as their minimum lock range has been changed. So let's go through size 1 to 4 first. So size 1, health has been increased from 12 to 50, and our minimum lock range has gone from 1,000 to 1,700. Size 2, health is increased from 15 to 50, minimum lock range from 1,000 to 1,800. Size 3, health increased from 18 to 50, and the minimum lock range from 1,500 to 1,900. And size 4 has gone from 22 to 50 health, and that minimum lock range has gone from 1,500 to 1,900. So on all of those, the minimum lock range has increased by a good amount, mostly on the size 1 and 2 missiles. Those have seen the biggest increase. And then they've all been balanced across the board. All of those are going to have 50 health, so a little bit more. I don't think PDCs will have a problem shooting down that size of missile still, but that is a little bit of a change there. And then let's go on to the bigger ordnance that we have. So first we have size 5 torpedoes. Their health has been increased from 28 to 100, so a decent increase there. And the minimum lock range on that has been lowered from 3,000 meters to 2,000. So you can, if you're in like a Gladiator or a Vanguard or something else like that, they can carry the size 5s. You can be a little bit closer and still get that lock on there. The size 7s, which currently only go on the Anvil Ballista, which is a ground vehicle that can launch those off. A little bit interesting, their health has gone from 42 to 300, and it says that their minimum lock range has gone from 5,000 to 50, but I would not be surprised if that's a bug, because that would be insanely low for that. So it'll probably end up being more around like maybe 2,500 or somewhere around there, maybe 2,200, I don't know. But that's for the size 7s. And then we get on to the big torpedoes, and this is where some interesting changes have occurred. So first, size 9 torpedoes. They have gotten a massive health increase. They have gone from 58 health to 1,000 health. Their minimum lock range has been lowered by about half, gone from 5,000 meters to 2,500. And they have had a explosion safety distance that has been raised from 5 meters to 1,500. So dumb firing with these and any of the bigger torpedoes as well, that we'll talk about in a moment, is going to be very, very difficult unless you're shooting a ground target that is not moving. Otherwise, good luck hitting any of your targets trying to dumb fire. So that's the size 9s. And then the size 10s, they've also had their health increased from 78 to 1,000. Their minimum lock range has been slightly increased from 2,300 to 2,500. And they have that same explosion safety distance from 5 to 1,500 meters. And then finally for size 12, their health has stayed the same at 1,000. No change there. But their minimum lock range has been lowered from 4,500 to 3,500, and they've had that same 1,500 explosion safety distance applied to them. So all across the board, the size 9, 10, and 12 torpedoes should be a lot more durable, a lot easier to lock, and now, even though you can't dumb fire them, you will have a lot less risk in having them shot down in your face and blow up. Like it happens on the Polaris. I've had it happen a lot on the Polaris, where you shoot it out and it immediately gets blown up, and it just makes you super damaged like immediately. So hopefully that'll help mitigate that. I do want to try and see what happens if you dumb fire a torpedo in that 1,500 meter range. I want to see maybe it just like bounces off of the ship and doesn't do anything. We'll have to see what happens. But those are all the number changes. There are a couple of other data mines I will go over very quickly. Couple other miscellaneous things. Apparently flight blades have been added to the loot pool. I don't know specifically what that means, if it's like you can get it at like Hathor sites or bunker loot boxes or contested zones or things like that. I know they are in some of the ship shops, and you could buy them, but you might be able to find them in the wild as well. There's also been some new player hangar decorations added, a life-size Van Duel statue, a Navy pilot statue. So very interesting there. Might be some little nods to Squadron 42, of course. And finally, they have had radiation protection and radiation scrub rate stats added to all other in-game armors and undersuits. So that's a pretty interesting data mines. If I look here on the armor that I have on now, we can see it has radiation protection of 52,800 rems and a radiation scrub rate of 251.1 rems a second. I don't know entirely what that means. Maybe that's the rem protection is maybe a certain amount of radiation that it can take before it starts to directly damage you, and then that scrub rate is probably how quickly it regenerates that total amount of radiation it can like take or absorb. So I would assume things like the radiation suit would probably be a lot better for this, but you know, you do have some at least rough stats so you can kind of calculate roughly how long you could survive if you were wearing like heavy armor or other ththings like that. So that is a nice little change that they have added those stats. Alright, so now we're going to go do some torpedo testing. I am going to use, let's see, I'm going to take the Idris. We're going to go somewhere where I can do this a little bit more peacefully. And I think we'll test out trying dumbfiring some torpedoes from the Idris at probably like the Polaris. Then we'll do some targeted torpedo testing, probably on both ships. I might also include maybe a Vanguard Harbinger, test some size 5s as well, see if there's any real meaningful difference in the torpedo health. Potentially if they can have a little bit more survivability against ships, maybe with PDCs or things like that. So let's go ahead. We're going to head out to one of the other stations, pull up some of these other ships, and do a little bit of torpedo testing. I'm coming into park here at a pad, and we can see the Idris does have some headlights now, which is really nice. Look at the front. Looks like it's kind of coming from, looks like there's sort of this light bar thing looking here. I don't know. They might have just kind of slapped something on there, but it does have lights now. So that's a nice little fix. Alright, so I've got a few ships out here for us to test with. So I have a Polaris. I also brought a Vanguard Harbinger to test the size 5s a little bit, and then I have the Idris with the Torp module. So first, really quick, what I want to try is I'm going to go get in the Vanguard, and we're just going to go send the full salvo of the 3 size 5s all at once, probably at the Polaris or something like that, just to see by chance if that health increase to them has helped at all, and maybe them getting through. Again, you probably wouldn't really be using size 5s on a capital ship. I know I have seen some people, if you can place it right, you can take out like the shield generator, but that was when you could dumbfire it, and again, you shouldn't be able to dumbfire that now. Well, maybe with the size 5s you still can, but so let's go ahead. We're going to do a little bit of a test there, and then we'll get on to testing the bigger torpedoes. And I just double checked, and the size 5 torpedoes actually did not get that explosion safety distance of 1,500 meters. And I have seen some videos of people, if you get it placed right, you can knock out like the shield generator and stuff, possibly the power plant too, on the Polaris and maybe even the Idris, with a well-placed size 5 torp. So yeah, we'll have to see if maybe it does have some utility, if it's able to kind of ignore that restriction of, you know, the bigger torpedoes can't dumbfire them. So we will have to see. And I turned off the weapons in the Idris, so the PDC should not fire from the Idris, but they should be on the Polaris. I did leave it that way intentionally, because if you're in a combat scenario, most likely the PDCs will be on. So we're going to go to our minimum lock range. I guess it's 2 kilometers, so we'll go right around 2 kilometers for the size 5s. Okay, we'll go ahead and arm all 3. Looks like we are getting that lock. Nope, lost it for a minute. Back up a little bit. The missile lock's being a little bit finicky. It keeps unlocking and then locking, like you can see there. So as soon as I get it to go and just stay for a second, then I'll probably just launch it and we'll see what happens. I don't know entirely what's going on, but it's just not letting me lock very well. So I don't know if maybe it's because the 2 really big ships are too close together. So I'm just going to move a little ways away in the Polaris and then see if that makes it a little bit easier to lock on those torpedoes. Alright, now we got the ship moved. So let's go ahead and move to a good range. And we'll see now if maybe it works better to target lock this. It's still being real finicky. Well, I've been trying for a minute or two, and then maybe just the Vanguard is just kind of bugged right now. I don't know. It's just, I just tried firing a missile, period, and it just would not fire. So we might have to try the size 5s another day. I would also like to try the size 9s at some point, but I don't, on the PTU at the moment, have anything that can do the size 9s, that can shoot that, the Retaliator or the Eclipse. So we'll probably have to check that in another video, but I would like to do some additional testing with those at some point. So now, let's go ahead and we're going to do some testing between the Idris and the Polaris. First, we're going to go to the Polaris, and we're going to try shooting like 1 size 10 torpedo at the Idris, and then we'll do maybe 2, 3, and then 4, you know, see how it handles different amounts of it being shot at it, assuming that the torpedoes will lock and not be bugged like on here on the Vanguard. So let's go ahead and cut to that and see if that's working out and what's changed there. Alright, so now we're going to see if it'll work for us in the Polaris to shoot some stuff at the Idris first. We're going to just go far enough. We just can see if it'll lock one of the size 3s. See if that will work okay. That does appear to work okay. We can see the PDCs have no problem taking that out. So then, we're going to go back a little bit further. We'll go to about 3 kilometers. Then we're going to head down to the torpedo console. And we're going to do some torpedo testing from there. Also, if you hadn't noticed by chance, the elevator on the Polaris has actually gotten a fair bit faster. I'd say probably 30% faster or so. It's much more pleasant to use now. So, nice change, nice little change there. Okay, so now let's hop on our torpedo console. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to try and fire 1. Again, the lock is being a little bit finicky. I think it might be like something with the server is being a little bit weird. I'm not actually getting any like sounds of it saying like it's locked or anything. So a little bit confusing there. But we're going to try it, see if we can get it to lock long enough. We're going to send 1. Let's see what happens. PDCs are going after it. They're shooting a lot, shooting a lot. And did that hit? I don't think it did, but I will say the PDCs did have to give, from what we could see there, the PDCs had to give a good amount of sustained fire to get rid of that single size 10. So now let's try 2 and see if that is any different. Got 2 armed, wait for it to lock, and go. Oh, did that one get through? Oh, that one got through. But I wonder if that's because the second one technically wasn't locked, so the PDCs didn't go after it. So that might be the case. So then I guess we'll just go straight up to 4. And we'll try that. See how that does. We'll try and get a lock. Try and get them all to lock. And then we will probably do the same thing with the Idris. When I get to the Idris, I do want to try dumb firing one, just to see what happens if it just like doings off the whole of the Polaris or something. And then we'll also see how those size 12s do. So we'll just wait for a minute to get this to try and lock, and we'll try and send him down the way. It does seem like they have... Maybe it's just me, but I feel like the time between the torpedoes getting shot out has increased a little bit. It seems like it takes a little bit longer. Okay, so from there it still looks like a full volley of 4 torpedoes with that, with what it seems, I mean, unless it's the server, if from getting shot out at longer intervals between them, it does seem like the Idris's PDCs can still shoot down all of them. Again, I think the one that got through earlier was just because that one wasn't locked, but it was straight enough that it just dumbfired into the ship, so the PDCs didn't shoot it. So we're going to have to do some more testing on that, I think, in another video. But it seems like it does take a decent amount more time for the PDCs to take care of it. So if you could get enough sustained torpedoes going at the same time, or enough missiles coming in to keep the PDCs busy, maybe barrage it with some size 5s or size 9s or something like that, you could potentially get those larger torpedoes through still. So we'll have to see. But now let's go ahead and we're going to head over to the Idris and see if we can hit the Polaris and see what happens with that. Okay, so now we got the Idris. First, we are going to go pretty close to the Polaris, and we're going to try dump firing a torpedo into it. And like I said, we're going to go back and see if we can get some torpedoes to lock, see if maybe the Polaris is PDCs, because it doesn't have quite as many. Maybe if that makes a difference, you can get some of the torpedoes through. Again, size 9, 10, and 12 torpedoes all have the same amount of health, so this, if it's the case, it will be applicable across any of those sizes. The only real thing that's going to change is going to be the speed of the torpedo and the damage that it does. So we'll have to see, but let's go ahead and let's get up close here, and we're going to do a little bit of a dumbfire test. Okay, so our torpedo module's about lined up with the middle of the ship. So then we're going to back away a little bit, and we'll just dumbfire probably one torpedo and see what happens. Okay, let's send it down the way. There we go. So it looks like it just bounced off of the Polaris, because we're within that minimum arming distance. So yeah, I think that basically puts dumbfiring to bed. So very little damage, if any, will be done from just dumbfiring that torpedo. It just bounced off. That looks so goofy. Okay, so there's the dumbfire test. Now we're going to back up. I think we have to go to about 3,500 meters, I want to say, for the lock on the size 12s. And we're going to send one down the way, see how the torps do, and then we'll send a volley of them as well. Alright, we're locked. And there goes one. Hopefully it stayed locked. Let's see, the PDCs doing anything? Yep. Okay, they got it. And there are, I believe, if I remember correctly, we're shooting at the top of the Polaris. There are 3 PDCs on top. So that was 3 PDCs shooting at it. So now we're just going to go all the way up to 4. We'll let those arm. It'll take them a minute. And then we'll send those down the way and see if that has any better effect. There they go. And see, with the size 12s on the Idris torpedo module, they fire basically all at the same time. So, see that we can get through. I don't think so. It's possible that because they fire so close together, they might have actually blown up each other when one got blown up. So it doesn't look like they got through still. So, it seems like the health increase has still not made it viable to just shoot at the ship itself, unless you take out the PDCs. But again, the PDCs are quite difficult to take out. So we'll have to see how this plays out. I think there's definitely some additional testing to do with this. But it might just, at the moment, if it stays like this, it would probably mean just time to kill is going to be quite high. Because you won't be able to dumbfire and quickly disable ships unless you can somehow get the weapons offline or things like that. It's just going to be really difficult to get the torps through unless maybe you overpower the capacity of the PDCs to shoot things down. So we'll have to see what ends up happening there. But yeah, I'm sure I'll probably do some more testing with maybe a size 9, some other things like that. And yeah, so very interesting. Make sure to let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Do you think the stats changes are enough? Like, do they need more health, less health? Other changes to help balance torpedo gameplay? Reasons to actually use them that'll, you can actually use them and the PDCs won't just always shoot them down. I'd love to hear any thoughts you have on that down in the comments. But that's going to be it for this video, going over some of the recent 4.2 PTU changes. Again, I'll probably be doing some further testing at some point with the missiles and torpedoes. But make sure to let me know anything you think about any of the stuff that we talked about in this video down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you would like to see more Star Citizen news videos, especially for things like the monthly report and roadmap updates coming later this week, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I'll make sure to get that news to you as fast as possible once it is available. But that's going to do it for this one, and until next time, I will see you in the verse.